Okay.
I'd like to call the Lyon County Board of County Commissioners to order for Thursday, April 17th. It's 9:00 a.m. Action will be taken on all items unless otherwise noted. No action will be taken on any item until it's properly agendized. To avoid meeting disruptions, please place cell phones and beepers in the silent mode and turn them off during the meeting. The board reserves the right to take items in a different order to accomplish business in the most efficient manner. Items may be combined for considerations, and items may be pulled or removed from the agenda at any time. Restrictions on comments by the general public. Any such restrictions must be reasonable and may restrict the time, place, and manner of the comments, but may not restrict comments based upon viewpoint. Board of County Commissioners convene as other boards. Members of the Board of County Commissioners also serve as the Liquor Board, Central Line Vector Control District Board, Mason Valley Mosquito Abatement District Board, Walker River Weed Control District Board, Willow Creek General Improvement District Board, the Silver Springs General Improvement District Board. During this meeting may convene as any of these boards as indicated on this or a separately posted agenda. This meeting may break between 11:30 and 1:30 for lunch. All commissioners are in chambers and present. I'm going to please stand for the invocation given by William Corley of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and please stay standing for the Pledge of Allegiance to follow.
Mr. Chair, I don't see Mr. Corley here.
Commissioner Hendricks, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Please join me. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This brings us to public participation. No action will be taken on any item until it is properly agendized. It is anticipated that public participation will be held at this time, though it may be returned to at any time during the agenda. Citizens wishing to speak during public participation are asked to state their name for the record and will be limited to 3 minutes. The board will conduct public comment after discussion of each agenda item, but before the board takes any action. Do we have any public comment in the room? Do we have any online? No public comment. For possible action, review and adoption of the agenda, and I'm just so everybody knows, I'm going to move 13A and 13B up right after our time certain. Do I have a motion?
I'll move to approve today's agenda with the changes.
Second. I have a motion by Commissioner Casanelli, second by Commissioner Hockaday. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Passes 5-0. Brings us to number 6, time certain at 9 a.m. for presentation only. Update from the Bureau of Land Management on current activities.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for having us here today. We appreciate the opportunity to provide an update to you. I'm Kim Dow, I'm the District Manager for the Carson City District. Today I'll be presenting on highway vehicle races that are coming up, wild horse and burro program, and a restoration project. I also have with me John Palmer, who is our Fire Management Officer, and he'll be presenting on hazardous fuel reduction efforts. And then also Sheeter Wigstraw, who is our Assistant Field Manager for Realty, and she'll be giving updates on our lands projects. And then at the end, we're happy to take any questions that you may have. So I'll start with off-highway vehicle. We have 5 races that we anticipate coming up. For the summer, the first one would be not until August. That's the Best in the Desert project. 555-mile race starting in Amargosa and finishing in Dayton. In September, we have the Vora Stomping Grounds 300 that goes through this area as well, and is based out of Weed Heights here. And then we have the Nevada Off-Road Association Brett G. Palmer Memorial Poker Run, which is September 28th. That's a 60-mile long poker run based out of Smith Valley, Nevada. The Legacy Racing Association Gold Rush is scheduled for October 12th. That's a 350-mile off-road race starting in Virginia City and finishing in Tonopah. And then the 5th one is in November. That's the Fern 45, which is a 40-mile poker run benefiting the Nevada Veterans Coalition, and that's based out of Fernley, going down the 95 Speedway. And let's see, and then for Wild Horse and Burro, we did some census flights this year, and then for the HMAs that are the horse management areas that are here, we have 2 that we did not fly this year, Horse Mountain and Wasatch. The Horse Mountain HMA has 0 horses right now, so that's good. And then the Wasatch has an estimated 197 horses from previous surveys, and the AML there is 165. We did, yes.
Tell everybody what AML is and.
Yes, thank you. AML, animal, sorry. Over here. Shoot. It's the population. Estimate. I had breathing in my head. Management levels, yes, thank you. And so that's the number that we strive for. We have 3 HMAs, horse management areas that we did fly this year. So the Pine Nut Mountains, we have an estimated 290 horses. AML is 179. So we're about 100 over in that HMA. I'm sorry, there were only 2 other ones. The Houghton HMA, that is estimated at 353 horses, and the AML there is 10. We're well over the AML there. And this one is our priority HMA that we're working on this year. We are writing a gather plan right now. It's actually out for public comment right now. We just released it for public comment on April 10th. So last week, it's out for a 30-day public comment period. This one, we really are hoping to be able to get onto the gather schedule. If you're familiar with that HMA, it's just below the area where the Navy expansion B-16 is occurring. And so there's horses that have left the HMA. They're on the area that will be expanded for the B-16 bombing range. And those horses, when they fence that, those horses will be pushed down into the current allotment. And that allotment, the rancher there is Justin Snow. Those horses will be pushed on to his allotment, which is also going to be reduced because of the expansion of the Navy bombing range. And so we really, really want to do the right thing and get these horses gathered so that, he'll have that reduced allotment, and then with additional horses on it, that's not a good situation for him. So we're trying to do our best to facilitate that. Yes, sir.
Sure, Keller.
So, sorry to interrupt, but I appreciate, so the Navy can just push the horses down onto the land. Why don't they take them back to part and help them remove those horses instead of pushing them around?
Yeah, so we have been in partnership with the Navy, and we have talked about efforts to try to partner together. Ultimately, the horse population is the BLM's responsibility. And so they are taking a keen interest in what we are doing to facilitate a horse gather. So they are partnering with us, but it is ultimately our responsibility.
I guess I'm just struggling a little bit. Can ranchers push horses off of their property?
Off of their private property, yes. Yeah, well, they could call us and we would do a nuisance gather. So they can't actually do it themselves, but they can call us, and then by law, we need to do it. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, technically the Navy would call us and then we would be the ones pushing them. Yeah.
Because I've been following the gather, obviously in the news, and I don't see the Navy stepping up and taking any ownership in that as well. So hopefully we get those horses removed.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a topic of conversation. We meet with the Navy weekly and it's a topic of conversation every week. We're doing what we can do. The first thing we need to do is write the NEPA to facilitate a horse gather. A horse gather can't happen until we have the EA in place. And so that is our top priority right now, is to get that completed so that we can be poised to do a horse gather later this summer if approved.
So we meet with the same group up at the base expansion for that, I don't know what it's called, but some initials. But anyway, are you guys reporting that up there? Cause I don't remember hearing anything like that up there.
To which group?
The intergovernmental,
Intergovernmental Executive Committee.
yeah,
We do participate on that committee. And I can't recall if this was on, I don't think this was on our last presentation. It has come up in comment though, and questions from the group. So we've talked about it in that way, but we have not included it in our formal presentations.
I just remember that you guys talk about you're working with the ranchers and stuff like that, and that's pretty much all it's kind of private as far as that's concerned. But nothing's been said at the meeting, so I think that's kind of important.
Yeah, I'll make note of that and we'll make sure to include it at the next intergovernmental executive committee, which that meeting, I believe that hasn't been scheduled yet, but they're looking at June. And so at that point, our public comment period will be over. We'll be looking at publishing the final EA for this gather area. So that'll be a very timely time to talk about it. Yeah, thank you for that. Last topic for me is the Playa Lake Restoration Project. This is a restoration project that's throughout the district where we have playa lakes that need to be restored. But they're mostly focused in the northern part of the Pine Nuts and in the Virginia range. And so the goal here is to restore these playa lakes by filling in the ephemeral water ponds that had been excavated and then letting those recover naturally. So public scoping, there was an error in the document that we sent in. It said public scoping for the fall and winter of 2024, but it's actually 2025. This fall and winter is when we anticipate going out to scoping. So that was what I was going to report out on, and then I'll turn it over to John Palma to talk about the hazardous fuels, and we'll move on to SHEDRA and then any other questions.
All right, good morning, Commissioners. What we completed for this fiscal year, so our fiscal year runs from October 1st to September 30th. So for this fiscal year so far, we've completed in Lyon County 53 acres of mastication, 147 acres of pile burning, and then 179 acres of pile creation, essentially. So that's what we've been working on. What's planned coming up is we do have 3,000 acres of herbicide treatment in Mill Canyon. So that'll be good to kind of cut down on that the cheatgrass in that area. We got 127 acres of mastication in Mineral Valley that we'll be working on, and this will all be in the fall time frame. And then 100 acres of creating with pile burning. So essentially those piles we created this year, those 180, we're going to be burning those in the winter fallish time frame. So that's kind of what we have coming up, and continue to work in all the counties and getting some work done.
I got a question. Thank you, Chair. Regarding the mastication projects, I know that that affected Christmas tree permits in Lyon County this past season. I'm wondering if that's going to continue. Is that going to be closed for Christmas tree harvesting in Lyon?
Yeah, so the mastication is not related to the Christmas tree
Okay. I
permits.
thought that's what I read, that it was.
Yeah,
because of that.
no, those are unrelated.
Okay.
But there is, do you want to talk about?
Yeah, I can speak to that. So we did take an area of the pine nuts out of the Christmas tree harvesting area, and that was because of a variety of factors, but mainly due to some impacts to the pine nut trees, the pinyon pine. So we have the pinyon pines have not been producing the pine nuts, and they're very susceptible to disease. And there's also a Washoe tribal resolution establishing those as an endangered species under their not a US endangered species, a tribal endangered species. And so out of caution for those trees and that stand, we did close that to Christmas tree cutting.
So that's likely to be a permanent closure then, it sounds like.
For now, yeah, and I think I don't see that changing in the near future. There is, those trees really are very susceptible to disease, and so we want to make sure that we're treating them appropriately. And so we do work really closely with the tribe. Our fuel shop works very closely with the tribe to identify ways that we can thin the stand. But the random Christmas tree harvest is could end up taking the healthy trees that we need to survive in order to continue the seeds.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Hello, I'm Shadra Rexrow. I'm the assistant field manager. And I manage Sierra Front Field Office, but lands and realty for the district. So I'll go over 3 categories here, one about disposals, one about solar projects, and then one about everyday realty actions that are going on within the Carson City District. So the Guaranty Anaconda mine site disposal, of course, we have an application submitted by Atlantic Richfield Company, ARC, and this is approximately a direct sale for a proposed action within the environmental assessment of 2,062 acres of public land around the mine site. And so with that saying, we have to reclassify, suitable for, reclassify the sales for suitable for disposal. And that's approximately 60 acres of BLM. Yes.
I just want to make sure you move the screen up with the solar projects they're talking about.
Oh. This is.
I believe she's covering the Urington Anaconda mine site.
Yeah, this.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I'm jumping ahead.
Oh, no, that's fine. I have a list here, so bear with me. And then, so with that saying, where we're at now with this project, we're working on the final environmental assessment, the decision record, and finally, so we'll be ready to post to e-planning soon, probably within the next month or so is the goal. And then we'll work through our notice of realty action. And this is the process that we have to take through the federal registered notice. And that is more of a time frame, probably towards late summer, early fall. But what you'll start seeing soon is the posting of the EA and the final EA, and then also an unsigned decision record and FONSI as it goes through multiple steps like government consistency there, the governor consistency, and then other protest periods as well with our headquarters. Any questions for that one? No? All right, so solar, we have quite a few here listed. So Parker Butte Solar, as you know, the various package was approved by the BLM director last year, so May 21st, 2024. Currently, right now, we're working on the baselines to be completed this calendar year for 2025. The contractor is finishing up the Raptors survey this year, 2025, and they're also working on the supplemental environmental report, which provides additional information a little bit more about the environmental impacts around the project area. And so this has to be completed with an environmental impact statement. And so NEPA is potentially the spring of 2026. And this is the north, the area is in north of Urington. All right, Mason Valley and Pinette Solar, this is an environmental impact statement for solar development north of Urington. And Next Era submitted the application to request a geotechnical studies to be conducted in April and May of 2025. We actually had a site visit with them yesterday, so we were able to go out with Next Era and their biologists as well to just look at the scope of the area and also partner them up with some of our interdisciplinary specialists to answer any wildlife biology questions or even cultural. There is another site visit with the archaeologists at the end of the month. I think it's April the 29th. So from for Mason and Pine Nut. So they'll go out there with them talking about more of the cultural sites and information there about the project. So estimated construction for Mason Valley is 2028, Pine Nut is 2029. Also with Pine Nut, they will, next year will be submitting a updated SF-299 to us about the battery energy system storage for Pine Nut. So hopefully that comes in for the next couple, in like 2 or 3 weeks, we'll have it in our hands per their direction. Okay. So then we have another one, of course, Arabia Power doing business as Lieber Solar LLC. And the proponent has requested a commercial scale solar facility, which is approximately 5413 acres of BLM land. And the right of way was issued to Arabia Power on November 8th, 2024. And geotechnical studies were conducted to determine final site design, and a final plan of development and notice to proceed are required prior to authorizing construction of the site. The next one is Long Road Development Company. This is Artemisia Solar. It is an environmental impact statement and it's north of Yerington. So per to the previous commission board update notes, there are no new updates for this one. And we've just been trying to connect with the applicant to see how they would like to move forward, and we haven't received any additional steps. So this one is pending on our side, but it's still an active application. So Sleeping Orange Solar, the applicant is Sleeping Orange LLC, Primegy, and it's approximately 4,367 acres. The solar project on BLM managed land. It will connect to Fort Churchill substation. It's east of City of Yerington in Lyon County. It's a 500 megawatt solar facility on-site substation, about 11.2 mile long, 345 kV gen-tie line, and 500 megawatt battery energy storage system. And this one, the applicant is very active with us, and so our renewable energy team continues to have ongoing conversations and meetings with them about the development of the application and also kicking off baselines for them as well.
Commissioner Hendricks.
Thank you for the report. I just wanted to know how much control does your office have over these solar projects?
I actually asked my district manager this question in the car this morning. And so by seeing this yesterday, like we were out here doing compliance checks and also just with the proponent for Mason Valley, and we went to Sleeping Orange and understanding Green Week West is like the Green Week is coming in the area as well. There is a lot going on. And so I'm gonna defer to our district manager because that's where my direction comes from as well.
Yeah, happy to take the question. I know there's a lot of concern about how much solar is being applied for, and there is a big focus for our district in this area for sure. When we look at the applications that we have, Lyon County has quite a bit of those of that work. We have just a little bit of solar that is also being applied for in Washoe County, but the lion's share of it is in Lyon County. And this is something that we've worked with County Manager Haskin over here with on how do we balance this. And so this is when we get an application, we have an obligation to respond to that application. But ultimately, the approval of that project comes from a variety of agencies. And so we have to work in partnership with those agencies. I know the county is interested in looking at ways that there might be some sort of regulations from a county perspective. If that were to occur, we would be working with the county. In that regard, we already are working with the county as a cooperating agency. We also have to work with NV Energy. All of these solar applications will require a power purchase agreement, and they have to connect to transmission that is managed by NV Energy. And so as far as control over the project, we have the land and the right of way from that perspective. Sometimes we have the right of way for the road or right of way for transmission. But we alone cannot, our authorization alone cannot approve a project to move forward with being built. It also would require the power purchase agreement, connection to transmission, connection to a substation. Any local, state, county regulations that have to be adhered to. So it definitely is a partnership for any one of these projects to move forward. And there is limited capacity on transmission. So while we have a lot of applications, at the end of the day, what moves forward will, I think the first limiting factor will be what gets a power purchase agreement, what can fit on that transmission. I don't know if that answered your question.
It does. You probably heard this before, but these projects aren't really financially benefit to us at all. They're kind of a liability. So I'm interested in introducing the concept of profit sharing, and I would like to know if your office would support that and do what you can to help facilitate it.
We are definitely interested in those conversations and unfortunately, I was not able to be at the meeting, but there was an initial meeting between Lyon County and my state director, which is the appropriate place for those conversations. And normally I would be part of those. Unfortunately, the day it was scheduled, I was unable to make it, but that was the initial conversation. And I anticipate and hope that those conversations continue. We definitely want to have a good partnership with the counties. It really is a partnership. We want a good partnership with NV Energy. We want a good partnership with the county. These projects cannot move forward unless we are all working together and working within our respective regulations.
Chairman, Commissioner Jacobson. Right.
Thank you, Chair. I guess I don't know if it's similar to what Ms. Hendricks said, but I feel like Lyon County gets caught for the Libra solar project, for example. The majority of those solar fields are in Mineral County, if not all of them. But Lyon County shoulders the massive amount of traffic, construction cruising through. And I don't know that we have, as a commission, much say or stake at the table. It feels like we're plopped kind of right down the middle of it, and now we've got a position where nobody is happy. And I get that, but on these projects regarding access to Libra, it affects a lot of Lyon County residents. Doesn't affect many in Mineral County. Yet I think they're getting what, 100 million over 30 years.
Oh, and I'm not exactly sure what their regulations are, but they do have, I believe they do have some regulations where they are allowed to require their own permitting. And so, and Lyon County can certainly do the same, and which is part of what the conversation we started is about, is there is an impact to the access both on and off public lands. And so county regulations definitely are appropriate in that case, so that you have your own permitting processes that the proponents have to work through. And that can address both public land and private land or county jurisdiction. I think that solar, over the last, gosh, what, 5 to 10 years, we saw just a huge number of applications. Probably, I think about 5 years ago, we had very few.
Yeah, and currently we have 19 solar applications within our district.
And those all came at once. And so there is a lot of catch up that we need to do with regulations and permitting.
Just for curiosity, how many projects get denied that apply?
Not many, but many do get modified or withdrawn.
Can I add to
Yeah.
that?
Mhm.
So here's an example. So Mason Pine Nut came in as solar panel projects. Pine Nut has downsized to a battery energy storage system. And what we do is help walk them through, the proponent, through understanding what's the landscape like. Here are some of the concerns, of course, from wildlife or different programs that they're going to find along their way. And if they're also in a corridor that is set by headquarters, like for Green North, there's limitations sometimes of what we can allow in there in the corridor, because we have to allow space for other purposes as well. And so we try to guide them into understanding the scope of their project. And sometimes those are challenging conversations with the proponents, but the whole understanding is trying to find a common ground of what is beneficial, of course, from the land perspective and the resources, and then also what are you asking for from a proponent standpoint that is aligned with our multi-mission at BLM, the Bureau of Land Management. So those are continuous conversations. So when your question about the we haven't denied a solar project yet, but we give them the information to do their research, to reconsider how the landscape of their project, and hopefully that can help the conversations with them as well.
And as Peter was saying with the pilot, the reason they modified it to a battery energy storage system instead of solar panels is because by the time we explained to them what they would have to exclude from solar panel construction, it was no longer a viable project for solar by itself. And so that's why we don't typically get to the denial stage, is because they usually can't make a viable project at some point in time once we exclude the areas. The ones that would be eventually denied, those ones are the ones that don't typically make it that far in the process. And some of these are in that process right now.
Commissioner Hockaday.
Yeah, this is something that's been brought up before. Governor Lombardo addressed it in his letter to the Department of Interior and also the BLM. This commission sent a letter, and we definitely appreciated Governor Lombardo basically stating that when these projects come in, day one, that the counties are notified what's been planned in our county. And yet we seem to be somewhere in the middle and sometimes at the end. Oh, by the way, this project is now happening. We've already approved it, 5,000 acres, whatever. So I would really appreciate if you'd spread the word that when these projects come in, at least give us a call. County manager, city in my district. I don't hear anything about it, except when residents see people out there testing the soil, doing things for geothermal, and they call me and go, why are these people doing this? I don't know. And the last one I heard about was an advisory board by the residents in North Smith Valley. And I'm going, I have no idea. That makes me look stupid. But it also shows that there's no coordination, and there should be at the very, very beginning. So I would appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. You should be getting notified and offered a cooperating agency status for all of the applications that we get when they get to the point where we're ready to start NEPA. So for these ones, there's several on here that we're not actively doing NEPA yet. So for example, the Artemisia Solar is very, very premature. We're not actively working on that one right now. So there's nothing to share yet, except that there is an application. We can certainly provide that information to you. Some of the other ones like Sleepy Orange, they're in their early stages of doing baseline collection. So we're not starting NEPA yet. When we do, that's when we send a letter out for the cooperating agency status. I think sometimes proponents get ahead of us as well. They go out to places and start talking about projects before they've even submitted an application to us as well. So we sometimes get caught off guard as well, but we'll make sure that we are notifying you for sure.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, may I ask a question?
Go ahead.
All right. And I think what Commissioner Hockaday is saying is that we kind of like to be notified a little bit earlier in the process. For example, the Sleepy Orange one, the proponent did reach out to me on, I think, Monday, trying to set up a meeting on it. I hadn't heard anything about it and didn't know where it was or anything. And so, we're going to sit down and meet with them, but it would be nice to get that notification a little bit earlier. I just wanted to clarify a couple things. So, you mentioned local regulation. So
BLM willing to then honor our conditional use permits for these types of projects? Because in Lyon County, in R 20, which is what all of the BLM land is currently zoned, it would require a conditional use permit. So is that something that would be required before construction could move forward on these?
If the county requires that, then we would require that of the proponent as well. So all of our permits have a stipulation that say that the proponent is responsible for complying with all local, state, and federal laws that are applicable to their project.
Okay.
We don't necessarily, though, notify all of the agencies that there's a project. That responsibility is on the shoulders of the proponent to know what requirements there are from any local, state, or federal jurisdiction that they need to comply with. And so we don't do that legwork. We require the proponent to do that legwork, and we also don't require that they give us any sort of confirmation that they've done that. What we do though is we tell them that they're responsible for finding out what they need to comply with, and then they need to go comply with it. If an agency were to notify us that a proponent has not complied, then that's when we would step in and tell them that they're no longer in compliance with our permit, because our permit requires them to be in compliance with your permit, for example.
Yeah, gotcha.
And then we would work together with the proponent and the responsible agency to remedy that issue.
Okay, well, that's good to hear because that's a little different than I think our understanding has been in the past. So we will definitely be putting a lot more emphasis on that process on our end. And just to be clear, they would be required to pretty much meet any of our ordinances on all that stuff then, right? So if it had say a distance requirement from houses and highways and all that stuff, that
Yes. If you
because we do have all of that currently.
if you have an ordinance in place, then we have no jurisdiction to tell you that you can't have those, or that we would ignore those. We have no jurisdiction over your ordinances. So if you have those ordinances in place, we'll require the proponents to comply with those.
Because that has not been our understanding in the past.
Yeah, that's how we're gonna move forward, so.
Perfect.
And then, as far as not having the information, we'll send over, all of the information that we have to date on all of the solar applications, so that you have that to date, and we'll make sure that we're notifying you.
Thank you. Commissioner Jacobson.
Thank you, Chair. So I know Lyon County has a bunch of speed limit signs posted on highways, and I think my analogy here is that if we're involved from the beginning, we can make sure that we get our CUP information, all that stuff out, and that we're aware that we need to hold them accountable on some of that stuff. But when we're made aware late in the game, it's like we haven't put up the speed limit signs, so it's free reign. So like Miller Lane, free reign. But thank you.
So I got a couple questions for you. At National NACO, we did a resolution to get cooperation and coordination with BLM on these projects. Hopefully that's going through, because it sounds like you're saying the same thing with the state and local laws and also with the tribal laws. Can you kind of go through the priority on these things as far as FLTMA? I mean, these are BLM lands. They're Nevada lands to me, and you guys are managing it, but there is a priority process. And so when it comes to hunting and ranching and mining and the rest of FLTMA, how does solar get to, how are they prioritized?
It's really case by case. So we look at each project that we get and all of the multiple uses that are within an area, and we look at how to accommodate all of the multiple uses to the best of our ability. It is very challenging with projects like solar, where once built, they tend to exclude other uses. That is very challenging, and that's a challenge that is somewhat new to our district, because Libra Solar is the largest solar project that we have right now that we have authorized. Prior to that, we had only authorized looting solar. So we don't have a lot of solar projects that we have approved. We have solar projects that were on private lands that we authorize the transmission, but we have no say over the private lands. And so Looting was the only one that was on public lands, where the solar projects were on solar lands or on public lands, and then Libra will be the next one. And so it's a challenge. It's a challenge to try to understand, but there isn't necessarily one priority over the other. It's looking at all of the multiple uses together for any one part of the land, when the application.
I think Flipman has a priority and also for the most uses. And so like if you can get multiple uses on a piece of land, so a lot of times they miss out the like right of ways because they say, well, there's no right of way, there's no. Yeah, that we go through that land to get to another piece of land, right? So you get right of way and maybe hunting or recreation. And so right away you got two compared to one. So I don't see how solar gets to be moved up at all. It'd be very hard for me to understand that. So I'd like to know if you come back of how we get to that priority. Because to me, you're cutting off a lot of other multiple uses and for one use. So, and I understand you do that with mining too, right? So.
There are some, and it really does come down to looking at each project individually. Flipma doesn't say this use in all cases is above this use in all cases. So there's nothing in Flipma that says solar is the top priority over everything else, or that rights of ways are the top priority over everything else. We have Flipma, we also have the Taylor Grazing Act, we have the mining law, we have all of the different laws that we have to balance. And at times we do have applications that come in for projects that do end up excluding other uses. And that's part of the NEPA process then that we have to work through with those. But there's not necessarily a list of prioritization of types of projects, though.
I think it says the most use, though. Yeah, I think there is a thing in there that says that. And like the Taylor Grazing Act is, Flipma kind of is an obstacle to the Taylor Grazing Act, right? So the Taylor Grazing Act came first, then Flipma. But sometimes they are in confrontation with each other.
Yes, we experience that a lot. It's very hard to work through, right? Because like you said, we have Flipma, we have Taylor Grazing Act, we have the mining law, we have the Geothermal Steam Act. And so when you put all of those together, it's very complicated to work through, to work through those things. All of those laws have equal standing, and all of those laws tell us that we need to take action on a variety of things.
So on future presentations, can you kind of bring back something that kind of gets me a little bit on how that's prioritized? Also, what was concerning is the battery storage thing. You guys are looking over battery storage and stuff like that. I want to see what you guys are doing about that, because I was in a NACO meeting where I think it was Clark County that was in a lot of trouble because they put out batteries with foam, and then they got sued because it contaminates the water system because of the plastics or something that's in it. So the next time they let it burn, they got sued for polluting the air. And so what is your, what's the fire recommendation on those things? The only one that I've seen so far that works is where you build a kind of like a basement without a roof, and water systems to where they can shut off pods, flood pods individually. And so that they don't reach to the next pod. And then have some kind of way to do that, because they're putting them in areas where we're not usable. So we don't want it to go from one to another without an automatic shut off of some sort. So that's a little concerning with the fires. Those batteries aren't friendly. Commissioner Casanelli.
Thank you, Chair. Not much I can add. I just wanted to agree with all my fellow commissioners on their opinions, and knowing the great efforts that our ranchers have to go through to keep their grazing permits, and on something that actually benefits the land and the environment, versus these projects seem to take priority. And so I think the whole process needs to be looked at. That's it.
Any other questions? I do want.
We did want to stop, so we had a. Yeah.
Keep it going.
Have you actually traveled the route, post route to Uber Solar?
Yeah, on a few different occasions.
Okay.
And one of our real estate specialists went out a couple weeks ago to do a compliance inspection. So we're documenting the findings from this inspection now.
Sorry for trying to cut you short. Please continue.
Oh, no, I don't want to take too much of your time.
Yeah.
This is important to us, really important. We could be here all day if we need to.
Have a few more, bear with me. So we're continuing working with Fernley on phase one of the NDA lands bill back in 2015. The focus is on parcels 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So phase one is estimated to be complete in early fall, this fall, 2025. We're actually at the patent stage that is with our state office. And just to give you more of a background information on that process, and we've shared with the city of Fernley already. When patents go up to our state office, they work with like titles and records, and then also headquarters, and then also wherever Nevada State Office for Bureau of Land Management has priorities of other patents, then they fluctuate back and forth. So the timeline, it tends to be extended, and right now we're hoping that the patent will be completed in May. But of course, that fluctuates. So it is at that final stage of patenting these parcels here for phase one. We have started phase two baselines with City of Fernley as well. And so we meet with them every 2 weeks to discuss the progress of phase two and in discussion about the additional parcels that are considered within phase three. That's Winnemucca District and Carson City District as well. So that is moving along. There is the Greenland North transmission line. So this is managed by the Nevada State Office with the support of Carson City District. And so with that said, the EIS, the Environmental Impact Statement, was published September 13th, 2024. And the comment period was accepted until December 11th, 2024. And the final environmental impact statement is expected to be published sometime this month, April 2025, with a record of decision expected to be published in July 2025. There is another project. It's a 345 kV transmission line. The proponent is Microsoft, the company. And we meet with them bi-weekly as well to discuss their project. They're in their baselines right now, and also writing chapters 1 and 2 of their environmental assessment. And this is located in Silver Springs, Nevada. Yeah, so that's where that project is at.
Can I get you to go back just for a second? On these acronyms, can you kind of go through that and maybe tell the public what cadastral is? Because I come from a building side and we call it something else, but.
Yeah, so cadastral does all of our surveys of land, and then they tell us the appropriate land descriptions. And so with that said, it's just identifying the correct land descriptions of like the different parcels that have been identified in the bill where the permanent lands bill within that NDAA. So the NDAA, National Defense Authorization Act. Which other acronym?
The LSSR.
Oh, that's the land survey results.
Yeah, so once you get the survey and recording, you get the cadastral and that together. So
Yeah.
I just want to make sure the public knew what you were talking about.
And then we work with title records, of course, to identify that the land is correct and placed on our master title plat. So this land has been declared either still federal, private, or patent holder to an entity.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then finally, this is my last one for you. The project, we have a Sky Fiber internet line, and this is a project includes an underground installation of microduct and fiber cable along US 95A, State Route 339, State Route 208, and State Route 829. This project will provide communication infrastructure between the campsites of Smith Valley and Yerington, Nevada. And that's all I have for you.
Any questions? I do appreciate you guys coming in and help clarifying everything else. It's really important to us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, and, we'll work on, next time you come back, we'll work with you on a date to come back, and we'll work on. Providing more information about prioritization, if there's other, project descriptions or other types of projects you want to hear about, let us know. This is just a handful of the things that we do in Lyon County.
And we'd like to hear about all of them.
All of them. One that came up that, it came up after we submitted this for the meeting is the Hudbay copper mining project. That's the only other one that comes to mind right now. And that one, the proponent asked to meet with us just last week. That project has, I believe they were working with Lyon County on the Lyon County land spill to have that land identified for disposal to private. And so from our side of that project proposal, we really were not working on anything for quite some time. And then just last week, the proponent asked to come in and talk with us about moving forward on their plan of operations for that copper mine. So very, very early stages. They will need to submit an updated plan of operations. So at the meeting, we talked through what we need to see in a plan of operations. So, at the next meeting, I will probably have more to say on that one.
Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna move to 13A for possible action, approve a request from the city of Warrington to use park construction tax in the amount of $30,000 for improvements for tennis and pickleball courts on the East Goldfield Avenue. Mr. Foley.
Josh Fuller, Lyon County Comptroller for the record. So the city of Warrington is planning to take one of the tennis courts and change it to pickleball courts. They're requesting a construction tax. Lyon County likes their construction tax in Mason Valley. The only parks that we have in Mason Valley are really the city of Warrington. There is a skate park in Mason, but we haven't put any money into that in a long time. So since the residents use the parks in the city of Warrington, we've funded projects for those parks. We have approximately $82,000 available for funding at the moment, so this helps us use that to the citizens' advantage.
I do notice that we have a park construction tax. It's all this, it's interesting. We have to use it the same way everywhere, but how it's dispersed is different within the different areas of the county and different the cities. So I appreciate if you could kind of tell everybody why we're doing for the city here and what we do for Fernley. We just give like a lump sum there.
So Fernley, actually, this is park construction tax. Since we've implemented the park construction tax, there's only $1,000 collected in the unincorporated area of the city. The city, I don't know if the city of Fernley has their own park construction tax. They may. Lyon County only levies it within unincorporated areas of the county. So we don't levy it inside the city of Warrington on park construction tax. We just levy it in unincorporated areas outside. Since the people in Mason Valley and unincorporated areas don't have any parks other than city parks, this is why we're on.
Thank you.
Does that clarify?
Yeah.
What you're asking?
Yep. Anybody else have questions? Any public comment? And seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Chair Keller, I make a motion to approve the request from the city of Warrington to use park construction tax in the amount of $30,000 for improvements for tennis and pickleball courts on East Goldfield Avenue.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Jacobson, second by Commissioner Hockaday. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes 5-0. 13B for possible action, approve the purchase of phones for a new phone system in the amount of $47,701 to be funded from a budget transfer from the general fund contingency.
Josh Fuller, Lyon County Comptroller for the record. Our existing system we put in 2012. It is out of life. We can't use the phones going forward in any other phone system, so we need to replace them. Because our IT department is frugal like I am. What we've been doing is buying up surplus phones on eBay and other places like that. And using those in our system, and they've worked fairly well for the time, significantly less than new. This promotion on the phone system actually gives us brand new phones that will work with the new phone system. Multiple new phone systems if we want to. We can use Ring Central, we can use Mitel, those type of phone systems. This would be through Mitel. Pacific States is helping us with this. And we get them for the price of what we're buying used phones for, but they're brand new. The reason we brought them to you now is because of the tariff situation, when we priced them out a month ago, they were 5% less, and they've been increasing the price, so we thought it would be beneficial to bring it to the board sooner rather than later, so that we don't pay more than we have to. We're getting a really good deal on this, and then we will have the phones, we can get them in place and get a new phone system in the next year's budget, as we talked about. This is just the phone portion of that project, though.
Any comments from the board? Commissioner Castelli?
Thank you, sir. Well, just, do you have a life expectancy for that equipment? Is it 5 years, 10 years, less?
So what we found with phones is they usually last 5 to 7 years, although I can tell you a lot of the phones. The one in my office is the one that they put in 2012. So they do last for a significant amount of time.
We'll get at least 5 years. Okay, thanks.
Any other comments? Any public comment? Any online? Okay,
Chairman Keller,
yes.
Maybe your phone lasts as long because you don't take my phone calls. I'm just kidding, we're great. I'll make a motion, Chair Keller, if you're looking for one.
Go ahead.
To approve the purchase of phones for a new phone system in the amount of $47,701 to be funded from budget transfer from the general fund contingency.
Have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Jacobson, second by Commissioner Casanelli. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you so much for taking me early today.
Board members, number 7, Commissioners, County Managers Reports. Start from my right this time, Commissioner Hockaday.
Well, this last 2 weeks, basically we had a Smith Valley Park Board meeting. Primary concern, weeds, of course, and cleaning up the park. So we'll be working those issues along with facilities. Also had a cleanup day at Hillcrest Cemetery on the 12th of April. A fairly small group, but the Roger, our cemetery director, actually had been spraying weeds for the last 4 or 5 months, pre-emergent. And when I got there at 8 o'clock in the morning, I thought I'd missed it because it was so clean. There was hardly anything there. Most of us cleaned up dead weeds that had been sprayed rather than having to dig out live weeds. And so that came out very nice. Anybody driving by the cemetery at Hillcrest there on 208, notice how really beautiful the cemetery looks. And I'm very, very appreciative of the board taking care of that. Also had a meeting with a couple of community groups in Smith Valley dealing with development going on. Geothermal, mining, and solar. So it's something that gets brought up a lot. I'm glad we had an update today, but for the most part, it sure would be nice to learn about this stuff in a commission meeting rather than on the street or at an advisory board meeting when I'm told something that I should already know. So that's about it. Thank you.
Commissioner Casanelli.
Thank you, Chair. Attended the monthly Campo meeting, basically went over pavement analysis reports that were Carson City and parts of Douglas, nothing to do with Lyon. Attended the Silver City Advisory Board meeting. Their concerns are I think they submitted a letter here today in our packet, but Highway 50 corridor through Mound House. Attended Nevada Rural Caucus. I attended the pinwheel plantings at the K Winners Park, but I was late, so in Dayton, but we crew did a good job getting the pinwheels up, and the sheriffs were there as well, and I also had a opportunity to meet Sergeant Galvin and our K-9 Brady, and very impressed with them. So that's it.
Thank you. Commissioner Hendricks.
I joined Sheriff Pope for lunch at the Boys and Girls Club here in Mason Valley, and I'm always impressed with what they do for the kids in our community. Attended the Silver Springs Advisory Board, the Comstock Historical District Commission Board, and National Association of Counties Public Land Steering Committee. I attended the Sheriff's Bingo Night to benefit search and rescue. The funds from that provide life vests to be distributed out at Lake Lahontan throughout the summer. And then last night I attended the Carson Watershed Conservancy District Board meeting.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Attended the Healthy Community Coalition. Well, there we go. Attended the Healthy Communities Coalition meeting. Great presentation by Community Chest regarding sexual assault. Met with Endo Energy folks regarding the Green Loop project. Met with Mr. Haskin and Miss Allison with the legislative update. I appreciated their time. Had a Boys and Girls Club meeting. We've got, if you're looking for something to do on Saturday, the 26th from 3 to 6, we have a big fundraising event for the year. Met with county staff and developers on the Dayton Government Complex. Found that very interesting, where we're at and how that's coming. Attended the Fernley City Council meeting last night, and I want to express appreciation for our planning commission. Fernley Planning Commission almost had a great big error last night. Luckily, the city council caught it, but again, I just want to give a shout out to our planning commission, and that's it.
Thank you. Well, I too attended the friendly meeting last night. Commissioner Jacobson spoke on behalf of the Boys and Girls Club a little bit on support. And if you want to bring something to this board and for support, I'll co-sponsor with you either resolution, letter of support or something on their part, because they do, the Boys and Girls Club on an action of the county, but they do take they improve the county. So I'm really supportive of that up there. One of the things that I did see up there, they're doing their master plan right now, and I don't know how the master plan works, how they master plan county property when they don't have it. And so to me, it's part of the matrix. If you say that's going to be for this type of land use, well, they're saying that's overall, they want so much land use for that. So if they don't go into the city or not brought into the city, it doesn't make sense that they get a plan for that already. So I don't know, they're going back to the planning commission with that. So maybe we should have representation at that meeting coming up. I attended the planning commission, and I really appreciated the community development director, Gavin Henderson, for presenting the Lyon County zoning consistency matrix. I think we should work to have every one of our advisory boards maybe do workshops if you can't already doing it, schedule workshops so that we, just like we do open meeting law, where people from the public can go into the planning, and the advisory boards can all get a little insight into how planning actually works. So that, because I think a lot of times we appoint people and they have no background in it. So I think it's really helpful. I attended the NACO Rural Action Caucus. One of the big topics we're working on right now is rural health, and also community development with financial institutions. USDA And then we went over the caucus business, basically starting off what we do from the steering committees to the Western Interstate region, to the annual national conference, to the symposium, and how those all interact, because everything starts in the steering committee and kind of works its way up through the thing. And at the end, we're going to be at the legislative conference where we'll be fighting for Pelt, the rural schools, the USDA, FEMA, everything that's important to Nevada. So that it starts at the bottom, works its way up. So we're kind of working through that right now. As far as the legislative side, now with several legislators, lobbyists, and agencies on bills that were submitted. Good news is the 281 bills are dead for this session. Bad news is there are a lot of good bills that died, including the one from Lyon County. So they killed the good ones so we can work on the bad ones. I do want to give a shout out to Taylor Allison and her team. It's kind of hard to get in there, work with the legislators, and you walk in there, they smile, we work together, we walk out very positive, feel good about ourselves, just for them to throw in the drawer and then never sees the light of day. So I wish they were honest and just said no chance in hell this is going through and we could use our time more productive. But thank you for what you do. And that's all I got for right now. County manager.
Good morning, Andrew Haskin, Lyon County Manager. So I've been pretty busy. So as Commissioner Keller mentioned, we had our first deadline at the legislature last Friday. 170 bills that were on our tracking list that did not make that deadline. So they died and they won't be moving forward, at least in their current form. We always have to watch and make sure they don't get amended into other bills, but that's something that we'll be taking a look at. As Commissioner Keller also mentioned, SB 53, which was our bill, did not make that deadline, unfortunately, and so we'll have to try again next time. I did meet with the city of Fernley on Commissioner Jacobson's request to talk about their legislative priorities. Their number one priority is SB 70, which is the appropriation for their community resource and response center. And so this board has already voted to support that, and we'll be keeping an eye on that. If that bill was exempt, so it is not dead. It was not subject to that deadline, and so we will keep a close eye on that. I wanted to remind everybody, or let everyone know that CAB training that we do annually for open meeting law training is on May 3rd. That training actually does include a section on planning, and we'll continue that. So that's about a 3-hour meeting. That's a Saturday, not a public meeting. It's specifically training for the citizen advisory boards and all the different boards that we have. And that'll be taking place at 9 a.m. at the Silver Springs Senior Center. And I wanted to remind the board that the budget meeting has been scheduled for May 27th. You probably heard from me reminding you on that. And again, that meeting date can't be moved now, so May 27th will be the day. That's the Tuesday following Memorial Day. And then finally, just wanted to let the board know that in an upcoming meeting, you'll be seeing a contract for the architect for the Justice Complex parking. So we'll be bringing that forward. I don't know if it'll be in the next meeting or the meeting after, but I just wanted to give the heads up on that. Remember, we had some discussions about changing the parking up to the secured parking. So we'll be taking a look at that. Happy to answer any other questions. Thank you.
And I do want to state one thing that I didn't mean to sound like the work that they do at the legislature is a waste of time. That is how you form relationships, know how to get things done and who to trust. So it isn't in vain. It's still important. It's just frustrating sometimes. Okay, we'll move on to elected officials reports. Do we have any elected officials? Seeing none. Move on to appointed officials reports.
Morning, Taylor Allison, Emergency Management and Government Affairs Director. Andrew touched on most of my report, which is that we're in what I call halftime of the legislative session, so we hit the first committee passage deadline. For significant number of the bills that we were tracking died, which is a good thing and a bad thing. The next major deadline is that all the bills have to make it through the first house by April 22nd. So right now, we're kind of in a waiting period to see what will be voted on and make it through their first house. At this point in the legislature, most of the bills have been amended. So at the next board meeting, I'll bring forward a list of bills in their current form that are still on our priority list. And brief you all, we've testified in support and opposition to a number of bills at this point and negotiated a number of amendments on the back end. And we'll take any questions.
Any questions for Taylor?
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other appointed officials? Advisory board reports. None.
Just have that one back up. Back up.
Shall we follow a backup letter?
Yeah.
From
Silver City.
Silver City.
Brings us to consent agenda.
Chair Keller, yeah, we do a reverse coffee break.
Let's do it. We're taking a 5-minute break. The number one consent agenda, action will be taken on all items. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and may be acted upon by Board of County Commissioners with one action and without an extensive hearing. Any member of the board or any citizen may request that an item be taken from the consent agenda, discussed and acted upon separately during this meeting. Does anyone want one pulled for discussion? Nope. Anything from the public? Public comment? I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the consent agenda items 11A through 11I.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Huckabee, seconded by Commissioner Hendricks. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Brings us to number 12, Sheriff. 12A for possible action, approving memorandum of understanding between Lyon County and the Lyon County School District for the School Resource Officer Program to provide 5 deputy sheriffs to be assigned to schools in Dayton, Fernley, Silver Springs, Yerington, and Smith Valley from July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2027, with the school district providing up to $460,000 on an annual basis for fiscal year 26 and fiscal year 27. Sheriff Pope.
Good morning, Lyon County Sheriff Brad Pope for the record. Starting next school year, the Lyon County Sheriff's Office will be responsible for all Yerington schools. That's new. Previously, the Yerington Police Department was responsible for schools located in the Yerington area. That'll give us a better logistics with our new Yerington SRO also being responsible for the Smith Valley school instead of our Silver Springs SRO being responsible for the Smith Valley schools. So it will bring consistency to the school district and all the schools. The Yerington schools are the only schools in the district not operating under the zero tolerance policy. So that'll be new, and that's going to take a little getting used to for school staff there and students, but we're on the right track. If you look at the amount of money offered per year, it equals about $92,500 per deputy provided. We will remain with 2 SROs in Fernley and then 1 in each other area. My goal is to expand that program in the future, but not during this school year.
Any questions? Commissioner Peterson?
Just a comment. I think this is fortunate for the Lyon County Schools to be moving into the Yerington, and I don't know that staff is going to struggle with the adjustment. Parents and students may. it'll be an eye opener. So, they do a great job and, not just on the negative, on the positive from what I see. And, you know, it makes a difference, having a show of force in the schools. And I say force, not as a negative, but just that presence and holding them accountable. I've said for years, you can't, the only way to make changes to make them hurt in a pocketbook. And it's amazing how parents hold their kids accountable and they think it may cost them some money. So well done.
Maybe struggle wasn't appropriate, an adjustment, so. Definitely an adjustment.
Commissioner Hendricks.
No, I just think this is a great idea and I appreciate you working this through and getting it done. I think having it all under one leadership is very beneficial.
Any other comments? I think it's a great thing. To me, it's the youth needs to have a positive view of the sheriff's department. I think this does it, and they don't go the wrong way. So great. Is there any public comment on this? None online. I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve a memorandum of understanding MOU between Lyon County and the Lyon County School District for the School Resource Officer SRO program to provide 5 deputy sheriffs to be assigned to schools in Dayton, Fernley, Silver Springs, Yerington, and Smith Valley from July 1, 2025 through June 30th, 2027, with the school district providing up to $460,000 on an annual basis for fiscal year 26 and fiscal year 27.
Second. I have a motion by Commissioner Casanelli, second by Commissioner Jacobson. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Brings us to 12B for possible action, except TC Energy's Social Impact Teams Build Strong grant in the amount of $9,600 in support of the Lyon County Sheriff's Office Unmanned Aerial Vehicle Program. Go ahead, Jeff.
It's pretty simple. Lyon County Sheriff's Office, we would be purchasing 2 smaller drones. So those drones could be deployed throughout the county with our current drone pilots. That way each one will have a drone.
Any comments from the board?
Yeah, Commissioner Keller. What are the capabilities of the two night flight? Just what are extra capabilities are we getting with these 2 drones?
These drones do have night vision. I don't believe it's thermal, but they do have night vision. And they're able to track vehicles, persons, etc. There's obviously an aerial view with a very high definition camera system that allows us a bird eye view of a large area very quickly.
Great. Yep. Good asset.
Any public comment? Seeing none online. Entertain a motion.
I'll move to accept the TC Energy Social Impact Team Build Strong grant in the amount of $9,600 in support of the Lyon County Sheriff's Office Unmanned Aerial Vehicle Program.
Second. I have a motion by Commissioner Hockaday, second by Commissioner Casanelli. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Brings us to 14A for possible action, approve the purchase of a portable baseball mound from Mark Twain Park. From Park construction tax funds not to exceed $6,000. This was recommended for approval by the Central Lyon Parks and Recreation Board at the March 12, 2025 meeting. Someone presenting this, or because I'm gonna have questions.
That homestead facility record for the record. I'm just here for any questions you might have. It's just so they can use the field for softball or basketball or regular baseball. It's not instead of building the mound up and taking it back down and all that.
So my question is fiscal one. I looked at that and it looked like you just take it out, lay it on the ground and
And stake it in.
stake it in. And it's, the one that we're getting is around 3,000. Is it the 3,795?
I'm not sure. On
But it says not to exceed 6,000. Where we kind of was 6,000.
that. I think they didn't have the price at the time of the meeting, I don't think. I didn't attend the meeting, my judge did.
Usually we don't ballpark that so that it can be spent by approving something and then having it all spent however they want to. So to me, I'd like in the future, I'd like
They can just buy the fixed
just
fee.
buy what they need, move on. So I just, it's just a ballpark, not to exceed it. If they have the price, I'd like to see the price. That's all I had. Any other questions?
All right, quick question. Oh, so it's portable now, that is it gonna be set up and left up during the baseball season, or is it gonna be removed every? Like,
Depends on who's playing on the field. It's gonna go on the little field at Mark Twain. And if they're having softball, be removed. If they're having baseball, they'll put it in. I assume they'll take it out and store it.
Right, but I'm just
It
wondering,
doesn't walk off.
yeah, my concern is it walking away, but
Yeah.
but what I'm wondering is it, like, Little League season, baseball season, gonna set up and leave it up the whole season? Or is it gonna be removed like
That
each week during games?
Sure. That would be a question for Judge Smith. Folks.
Yeah, I think by removing it, it'll also get less sun and weather on it,
Yeah.
so we can get more use out of it.
Instead, they're gonna be storing it in a container over there.
Yeah.
When it's not in use.
Okay,
So that's because that's my concern. I asked him, I said, we don't want it walking off. He said, well, they're gonna store it when it's not in use. And we are working on security cameras for that. too, So.
Okay, I'll wait till you get to the back before we ask if you need any more questions. Any public comment? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the purchase of a portable baseball mound for Mark Twain Park from the park construction tax funds not to exceed $6,000. This is approved by the Central Lyon Parks and Rec Board at their March 12th, 2025 meeting. This portable mound will be used on the small baseball field, so it can be used as a softball field as well.
Second. We have a motion by Commissioner Casanelli, second by Commissioner Hockaday. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Community Development for possible action approves the master services agreement between Dow and Lyon County for development related services, including county engineer, county supervisor, floodplain management, and inspection services.
Good morning, Commissioners. Gavin Henderson, Lyon County Community Development Director. So this item is again the request for approval of the master services agreement with Dow. On the December 19th board meeting, the board approved Dow's selection to provide these services underneath the master services agreement. With that being said, community development worked in conjunction with the district attorney's office, Dow, and this is we're bringing forward kind of the finalized form of that agreement. All parties that we're working at our end. Or have agreed that this agreement is, on mutual consideration, so we can bring forward to the board and move forward. So if there's any questions related to the agreement, I'm here to answer them.
Commissioner Hendricks?
Is there an increase in cost this time?
No, so the fees remain the same. There is the ability to increase fees up to 3%, and that's also due.
Okay.
Commissioner Davidson?
Is there, just curious, is there a conflict between the services provided and the fact that they're providing inspection services?
So they do that through a sub-consultant, Loomis. So Dow doesn't specifically provide those inspection services. It's a sub-consultant works with Dow, and they provide those inspection services for the county for those site projects.
Right. Because I know when at home, if I inspect my work, it's good, but when my wife inspects it, it's not so good. So she would be the second party there.
Correct.
And is a little harder on me than I am.
And that's how the county ordinance is written, as far as they act as the county inspector.
Right.
Anything outside of their capabilities, we have a special inspection agreement that will allow developers to move forward and hire a third party, and then basically they provide us those reports and we review and make sure everything's looked at appropriately.
Thank you. Any other questions? Any public comment? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the master services agreement between Dow and Lyon County for development related services, including county engineer, county surveyor, floodplain management and inspection services.
Second,
Second.
we have a commissioner, motion by Commissioner Hockaday, second by Commissioner Jacobson. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. 15B for possible action, approve the development of a comprehensive GIS-based development map, including associated software licensing, hardware, and professional consulting services in the amount of $13,600 to be funded through a budget transfer from the general contingency fund.
So again, Gavin Henderson, Lyon County Community Development Director. So we are seeking funding to do a GIS-based development map. And really, if you've been on the city of friendly websites or any other jurisdictions, they have a map that the public can go on and view, and it has all the current projects, commercial, industrial, planning and developments. We're out taking this as an opportunity to include road closures. So if we're doing capital improvement projects and we're closing down a portion of the road, we can send basically that shape file to Dow. They can upload it into the JS system, and then if a resident is concerned about, traffic or, cones in the area, they can click on that and it'll blow up, the traffic control plan, the project information. So really, it's just a comprehensive platform for us to be more transparent as far as the development process and the planning process, and provide that information to the public 24/7. And then as well, meeting with the NRS 239.010 for public records. So all that planning and development data needs to be accessible by the public at all times. So we've been, conversations in the past, and now we're coming forward to actually implement the service. There's a table within the staff report kind of breaking down the cost for each item. $3,600 for the software licensing, for staff to be able to go and make changes as well. $10,000 for Dow services to get that development map up and running, and then post it on the website to public access. And then the 1 terabyte storage is just so our computers can handle that additional software.
So are you going to be able to make the corrections and everything as every day?
Yeah, it's pretty, I say simple, but it's a shape file. I will be able to go upload information. Our plan is to include the board determination letters. If there's a tentative map, that'll all be available for the public to view. And that way they're not having to pick their way through agendas, how they currently would do it, or go through the assessor's page and try to pull up the subdivision map prior that was recorded.
Since I've been noting this and wanting this, I'll make a motion when we get to it.
Yeah.
But take questions first.
Just for curiosity, will this save your time as well?
From fielding daily questions, I believe so. It's an easy way to turn people to access that information. The data, I'm sure we'll still have to answer more of those complex questions that we kind of limited as far as information. We anticipate being permitted to be allowed on that platform, but we really want to keep it short, concise. We don't want to create too much confusion. Of course, we're available to answer any questions that the public has. But really, it would be projects. Is it residential? Is it commercial? Is it industrial? Where it's located? It'll have, as we get kind of more of the process, they plan to bring forward to the board, kind of an alpha version or beta version of how it's going to look like. Right now, it's going to be a color-based process. So if it's in the tentative map stage, it's in this color. If it's approved in our construction, it's in this color, and kind of go about it through that process. But really, as far as the day-to-day question answering, it's a good tool to refer people to, which again alleviate a lot of staff's time as well, because that is a bulk of our questions as far as what's going on in our area. I see equipment moving around. Pretty easy place to go to.
Right on. Once you get it up and running, make sure that the advisory boards know how to get on it.
Absolutely.
That way they can know what's happening in their area.
Absolutely.
Uh,
And it'll be ongoing as far as making it a really, really complete product. I'm sure as we push it out there, there'll be comments as far as we like to see this, we'd like to see that, and look forward to making those fixes as kind of making it a living software program.
I was looking at the Yarrington maps that they were doing yesterday for the planning, and apparently they couldn't afford a different color either, because they had recreation and open space at the same brown, so
Yes.
hopefully we got plenty of colors. Any
Was
other
that
comments?
Yarrington or Friendly? You said Yarrington.
Oh, I'm sorry. Friendly.
We'll get out.
Thank you for the correction.
Have the Ragey bid and we'll start,
Hmm.
we'll go to Lowe's and get some color swatches.
Any questions from the public? Any online? Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the development of a comprehensive GIS-based development map, including associated software licensing, hardware, and professional consulting services in the amount of $13,600 to be funded through a budget transfer from the general fund contingency. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Keller, second by Hendricks. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Brings us to the county manager. Discussion and provide direction to the county manager on the creation of a general improvement district, GID, for the purpose of furnishing electric, light, and power to the Northern Nevada Industrial Center, requested by NNIC. This is located in Silver Springs. If we get it up, you can go ahead and present.
All right, good morning, Commissioners, Dave Brown, 4129 West Cheyenne, North Las Vegas, Nevada, here on behalf of the applicant NV Reno, well, not an applicant, but the proponent NV Reno Industrial LLC. With me today, I have Terry Cage. He was a former chief of staff of the Nevada Public Utilities Commission. And also I got Bob Sweeten, who is the top energy attorney here in Nevada with Davison Van Cleve. Also online, I have Vince Griffith with Reno Engineering. He was under the weather today, so instead of making us all sick, he decided to just get online for us today. Again, my name is David Brown. A little bit of background before I jump into this. I was one of the original civil engineers with Vince Griffith on the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center back in the late 90s. We laid out all that infrastructure, developed that industrial park. 2007, I moved to Southern Nevada and started development of the Apex Industrial Park, which is the largest industrial park in Southern Nevada. Similar to what you see in Trick, it's about 13 miles away from the city outskirts, away from all residential, which is very similar to what you're going to see today with the Northern Nevada Industrial Center as well. We're also developing in the city of Henderson Industrial Park of 1,100 acres called the El Dorado Valley Industrial Park. And then also in Moapa Valley, we have 2,000 acres industrial mixed use with residential and commercial. So you can see the overall theme is we're an industrial developer by trade. Before we get into this, I want to note that in the Apex Industrial Park and the El Dorado Valley Industrial Park, NV Energy is our very good partner in both of those industrial parks. They supply all the power to those industrial parks and have been fantastic at developing those out. In the Moapa Valley Industrial Park, we have a GID similar to what we're going to present today. It's the Overton Power District, and they supply power to that industrial park. And then in NNIC, I'll just jump into right now, just the basics behind it. You can flip forward. You don't have to go to the property highlights. That's marking. Everybody knows here that Nevada's the place to do business. But you can see the blue triangle here is in Northern Nevada Industrial Center. It's 20,000 acres. It was formerly part of Trick. It was the Azamara Ranch. And Roger Norman sold this 20,000 acres off to my client, which is Weston Adams, and he bought this in early 2000s. It's totally in Lyon County. The black line you see there separates Story County from Lyon County. If you look on the next slide, here, this is the actual, you were asking earlier about how it's firmly planned in the county, and it bewildered me too when we got into this property. But the south 12,000 acres here, which is where you see the colors there, that's the Lyon County planning area, and then the north 8,000 acres is in the firmly planning area. And so we've planned, and all our PUD development agreement, all the development we've done thus far within the Northern Nevada Industrial Center has been in the Lyon County planning area. And the colors you see there represent about 6,500 acres of developable property. If you look at the bottom part of that slide there in the green, you can see the big gray shaded buildings there. Those are Tesla gigafactories laid side by side, so those are about 3 million square feet apiece. And then the yellow buildings you see laid out along there on USA Parkway. Those are 750,000 square footers up front and then 1 million square footers in the back. So I just want to give you a scope and scale of what's actually capable to be developed here at the Northern Nevada Industrial Center. We've already talked about most on this slide, but I will point out the infrastructure and utilities plan. Sewer and water have been designed and they're into depth for review right now. I believe they're in final review. They've already made 2 rounds of comments. Natural gas, we do have access to the Great Basin Pipeline, which is on Highway 50. So we've made an application to the Bureau of Land Management to get from our project down in that to Highway 50 in order to pull that gas line up. And so that's all in process, and we've reserved through a non-binding agreement with Great Basin Pipeline enough gas to do the plan, which I'm going to present to you today. And then electric is why we're here today, obviously. And then fiber optics run right through the park. So why are we here and why are we asking for this microgrid or the General Improvement District, which is what GID stands for? So we have been working with several data centers looking to site at NNIC in order to kick the park off and develop the park as an industrial park. We had a client in escrow about a year ago that needed 400 megawatts of power. They applied through an NV Energy for that 400 megawatts of power. And NV Energy came back and told them they could deliver the power to them in 2032. And so that they left obviously and went to Southern Nevada. And so that's why we're here today. We need to move forward quicker than a time frame of 2032 in order to make this park go. We have several data centers which are still interested in the park today, and we'd like to move forward. As I get through this today, we believe we can have our first 400 megawatts of natural gas fired power plants up within the next 24 months. The statutory basis, NRS 318, which allows the county to form a general improvement district, lies with, like I said, NRS 318. That means this board can make NNIC that 20,000 acre triangle or the south 12,000 acre triangle, however this board sees fit, can make that the general improvement district boundary. And then you would become the Public Utilities Commission, for lack of a better term, over that general improvement district. This board would. You could appoint an advisory board to do day-to-day operations, but this board would ultimately be the overseer and the final say on what goes on within that general improvement district. Perfect. The primary goal of the GID is there's lots of, you already have GIDs in Lyon County, right? But this one would be solely for power. We already have water and sewer through what's a co-op, which would be a private water and sewer company. Funding of the GID, right now GIDs allow you to get funding, they allow you to utilize grants, but funding of the generation in this park will be solely through private investment into the park. So just I'll give you an example. If a data center comes forward and needs that 400 megawatts of generation, we have the natural gas developer that would come forward, build those generators on the site, and then they would do a PPA through the GID to the end user to sell that power to the end user. The end user would be responsible financially for backstopping that natural gas generation through either a letter of credit or a bond. And so the GID is simply the pass-through mechanism between the generator and the end user. And you guys set all those regulations in place on what security you would require and all those matters there. You can go on to the next slide. So what are the benefits to the county of creating this GID? Obviously, the first one is development, right? We can move forward with our development. As you'll see on a couple slides from now, it's a huge investment up front for these natural gas generators. And you'll see that the tax waterfall and the construction of those natural gas generators are immediate to the county. obviously increased tax base from the new from the new developers within the Northern Nevada Industrial Center. I'll compare it to Apex. So Apex is in North Las Vegas. I don't know if the board will remember or not, but at one point North Las Vegas was under conservatorship by the state or looking to go under conservatorship and go bankrupt. And then the mayor Lee came on, like love him or hate him, he came in and said Apex Industrial Park is our #1 priority. We're going to invest in the Apex Industrial Park, make sure that moves forward. And now North Las Vegas has gone up to an A credit rated city. Not all because of Apex, but because of their investment in industrial development within that city. As I spoke before, the fiscal analysis projects, and this conservative fiscal analysis, $6.9 million in annual recurring benefits for a single 400 megawatts data center development, which would be approximately 2 million square feet. And 5.91 million in new tax revenues from the first data center immediately. This lays out the tax generation and how we got to those numbers. You can see during the construction period, that's a giant hit. $6.9 million in sales, use and property taxes for developing those natural gas generators. And what we plan to do, and what didn't happen in Trick a lot of time, is that when they took the supply in, they would deliver that to Reno or into Washoe County. So Washoe County got all the sales tax revenues, use and property tax. We're going to ensure through this board, as the GID board, that all of those items are delivered into Lyon County, so that Lyon County gets those tax benefits. Annual taxes of the actual data center development for per million square foot is $2 million because of their abatement through the state. A lot of these data centers see abatements, but it's still a $2 million annual tax revenue to the county. And then the generation facilities have an ongoing $2 million estimated tax revenue to the county. And then the franchise fees at 5%, which you set as the GID board, you just set that at 5% and make sure that anybody using that electricity, you get 5% of franchise fee. So then on the next one, we talk about microgrid electric capacity. And so for 12 months since we got told that no, we're scrambling to figure out how we're going to serve power to the Northern Nevada Industrial Center. So what do we have to do? We had to go reserve capacity on that Great Basin pipeline, which I already spoke about. Secondly, we had to go find which actual generators we could use on the site for natural gas generation, which ones were going to be allowable under the air permit through NDEP, which ones were going to put out the least amount of pollution, so that we can have much more industry out there, and then they're not tying up all the air increment like happened over in Story County. And also how quick we can permit those through NDEP because of the air increment. And so what we found the Workzilla model generators are built over the hill in Story County, actually at the Nevada Gold Mine site. And they built the same generator that we want to build in 400 megawatts, and they actually interconnected it to NV Energy's grid. So they wheeled through NV Energy over to Nevada Gold Mines in Story County. So we're going to use that same model, knowing that eventually we're going to be connecting into NV Energy's service territory when they get there, 2032 or 2034, whenever they get there. We want to make sure that what we build can be interconnected in their system. We also have, I'm going to say it's solar, but this solar we're very sensitive to proximity to houses, proximity to view sheds from the freeway. If you look back at that board map that has the sites in here, it's back a few slides. If you look at this map here, you'll see that we've got some areas back in here that are complete. This is USA Parkway. They're completely hidden from USA Parkway. So these are the sites we're identifying for solar if there is a solar component. We think that if we do a small solar component, which we're talking about 100 megawatts, we're not talking about thousands of megawatts or thousands of acres. We're talking about 500 acres at the most, sited away from the view shed. It will make us have the same RPS standard, so renewable portfolio standard, as the state has now, about 30% to start. We also have wind studies that have been done on the site, so there is a wind developer that's gone up into the mountainside, done raptor studies, done all the wind studies. That's another one. Obviously, it's based on the approval of the GID board and your community development board here. But that is another option for the GID to get another 300 megawatts of generation. And then there's a storage component, which is a kinetic energy storage component. It's not batteries. So what it would be, it consists of is a rail, looks like a regular rail, flat at the bottom, goes up the hill, and then goes on a plateau at the top of the hill. They drag concrete blocks up the hill, store them at the top with the energy during the day. Let's say it's natural gas off peak or it's solar during the day. They drag that block up the hill. And then when there's either no solar, no sunlight going on, or it's a high peak for gas generation, they'll drop that block back down and create the energy needed for in the park. And so we can do 2 gigawatts of that actual storage on this site out here in NNIC. And then geothermal has been another option that's been explored. It wouldn't be the geothermal where they're going to the shallow aquifer and using hot water there. They would go down 8,000 feet and use the hot rock. And it would be a closed loop system where they put a one-time injection of water in, loop it through, they heat up another liquid material that actually turns the turbine. So it's not the high water use where you're stealing somebody's water underground. You're actually injecting your water in, closed loop system, pulling it back out at the other side. And then the next sheet will just show you what each of these look like. And I think the most interesting one you'll see is the rail storage. It's way more efficient than batteries. So we talked about the phase 1 power development. We put conservatively on there 2028 concept of providing that, but we think we can do it 2027. Based upon if we got a GID approved by this board, we can move forward by 2027 and secure those natural gas generators, secure the pipeline, the Great Basin gas, and get 400 megawatts of gas fired up immediately. We talked about the 100 megawatts of solar, which would correlate to 100 megawatts of those rail storage facilities, which would probably be a single track. It wouldn't be the stacked tracks you see there to get 100 megawatts of storage. And then we would all obviously immediately apply to NV Energy for interconnection. So we want to be connected to the grid. This isn't a choice for us of whether we or not we want to be with NV Energy. We want to be with NV Energy. They can't service till 2032. So this is a necessity for us to get going right away. So we have reached out to NV Energy about partnering with them on this. We did that several times over the last year to see how we could partner on this type of setup. And we don't believe through the current Public Utilities Commission setup that there's a way for us to do this and get up in 24 months. So this is the avenue we think is best. But what we want to include in this GID, obviously with your approval, since you would be the GID board, is that when NV Energy is ready to interconnect us, when they're ready to take this over and they're ready to purchase this, that you go ahead and let them take it and they will be the power provider then for Northern Nevada Industrial Center. Slide. Again, this is just the solar sheds we talked about earlier, where the green and the pink are really the 2 preferred locations for the solar. And then phase 2, we haven't talked about phase 2 yet. So phase 2 of this development would be a 500 megawatts natural gas fired plant. And that would look similar to what you see in the NV Energy build across the state. It would be a gas fired power plant, similar to what they just built at Silver Hawk in Southern Nevada. And the 500 megawatts would be just gas turbine generators. And then we would put that right on the future Green Link line that comes right through the middle of our Northern Nevada Industrial Center, so that they could interconnect that and use that either as a peaking plant or use that for 500 megawatts of generation. Also to mention there, the storage there, the 2 gigawatts of storage. So they're talking about capacity to serve everybody in Northern Nevada. If you put that storage there and they are able to interconnect that storage, that immediately adds 2 gigawatts more of capacity for the northern Nevada area. For Lyon County, for NNIC, for the regional area. If you look on the next sheet there, Andrew, go one more. Sorry about this being stretched out and confusing, but we talked about the Greenlink project. This is our 20,000 acres here. This is Trick. Greenlink actually comes right through the middle of our facility. And I think one of the questions that we received was, if you're a GID, what's that going to do to our Greenland project? Absolutely nothing. The park's still going to give them all the easements they need. We still want them to come through our park because we need that interconnection as much as they need to come through our park. So 100% cooperative with Greenland. We talked about this, touched on this earlier, about the GID being structured for eventual takeover by NV Energy. The statutory procedure that allows that normally is a competitive bid, but there is a bid in there there is a section in there that allows us to do it expedited to a single party if it's for economic development purposes. Obviously, NV Energy being the service provider and interconnecting us would be a giant economic benefit to Northern Nevada Industrial Zone. Then this next slide is just about organization and governance of the GID. This is more for your benefit here, in that you can set up an advisory board made up of professionals like a retired guy from the Nevada Public Utilities Commission. Also, Tenaska Power Services does this for GIDs all throughout the country, but specifically the GID in Southern Nevada that I mentioned earlier, Overton Power District. They're the power manager. And so what they do is they use their whole company to come in for GID boards like yourselves and say, hey, here's what it's looking like to trade energy. Here's where you should use your stored energy. Here's how much you should charge for electricity tariff. Here's what the pass-through should look like from the generator to the end user. And so they'll give you that whole framework as a consultant. Financial and legal protections for the county. So like I talked about earlier, the big one there is the performance guarantees by the developers and the end users, making sure that there's a guarantee that the county is not going to have to take over a GID like they've done in the past, that there is solvency there, that it's just simply a pass-through. GID is simply a pass-through for one guy to provide energy to another guy to use on the end. And then next one also talks about energy supply contracts. It talks about we retire contributions and aided construction. So we're going to use a similar, we're going to suggest that you use a similar structure as the GID board to what NV Energy does. If a developer comes in and they want power, NV Energy makes them build the transmission facilities necessary to get to their site. They make them backstop whatever generation is being done. They are solely on the hook, the end user, for all of the infrastructure required and the backstop for the generation, so that NV Energy is not on the hook because they're liable to the public, right? So the Public Utilities Commission is mandating this. You're not going to have any different rules, I wouldn't suspect. The model's already there. You might as well continue on with that, and so that will protect the county. And also make sure that it's status quo for developers that want to come in. Next steps and requirements. So I know we flew through this, and what I'm trying to do is you guys are going to have 100 questions for us. So I'm trying to leave time for questions for you to ask us. But what we'd like to see is the next step would be, and Andrew, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but an introduction to an ordinance and then adoption of an ordinance. And I'm not sure if there's a town board step before that. Okay, so just an intro to an ordinance and adoption of an ordinance that would allow this GID to be formed. And then after that was formed, then there would have to be some meetings held so that you could put the meat and potatoes on how this GID is supposed to run through this board. And obviously we would help you with that through Davidson Van Cleve, through Terry Page here and through Tenaska Power Services. So I know that was a lot quick, but really want to be open to your questions.
Any questions?
I
Go ahead,
just want to
Commissioner.
check page 19, the previous page. I'm just looking at that fourth, but require contributions in aid of construction. Could you explain that?
Good morning. So Jerry Page here, working for Dave. The contributions in aid of construction are currently NB Energy tells you we need to build a new substation, we need to build a new line, and it's going to cost $100 million. And I just throw that number out. So the developer has to pay that $100 billion. And then they have to also collect the income tax on that. So it's $150 million that goes to NB Energy to build those facilities to serve. One of the advantages that GID has, or a nonprofit, you don't need to collect the income taxes. The IRS considers a contribution in aid of construction income. You're a nonprofit, you don't pay income tax. So there's a built-in advantage to a new user to pay for facilities and not have to be responsible for the tax liability. And that's probably more of an answer you wanted, but the traditional term in the industry is kayak, contribution in aid of construction, used across the board, all utilities across the country.
Well, when I saw that, the first thing was, wait a minute, we're required to for contributions in aid. So that was my misunderstanding of seeing that bullet point and thinking that the GID or the county would be responsible for any aid in construction of.
You're going to require it as the end user. Yeah, sorry, I should have been more clear on that.
All right, thank you.
Any more questions? Commissioner,
Have you sat down with our county and the energy to discuss this yet, or is that something that you'd be open to?
Absolutely. So we did sit down with your county staff. Had a great discussion. Actually produced a white paper for them. And answered some questions that they had. And then we sat down with NV Energy multiple times. Actually, last week I got a call that to please work this out with NV Energy. And I reached out to NV Energy immediately and haven't had a response yet.
We have someone here from NV Energy today. That was Chisholm. So. Right on.
Okay.
go ahead, Commissioner Castanelli.
Obviously, there are a lot of details that would need to be worked out, but one thing I see is if it truly is 2032, before NV Energy is able to bring in the required megawatts, that we're going to see a lot of other data centers or development looking to annex into this GID. So, I mean, how is that to be handled?
So annexing?
Yeah, I mean, if you've got a property that's just outside of the Northern Nevada Industrial Center and they're looking to build, but they're not technically in the GID. I mean, do we annex them in or do we tell them, wait? That's one question I have.
Sure. So that's completely up to this board, but I would tell you that most of the development obviously is happening in the Storage County side of the line for this reason. I mean, you got tracked right on the border. That those guys are still waiting for their power. They would not be able to annex in from Story County. It would be purely up to your board what you want to do. So you could set it up on the geographical boundaries of NNIC, which is what we've done and what we've committed to do with the Silver Springs mutual water companies. We're not expanding our co-op outside of the boundaries of 20,000 acres. Yeah. We would not advocate for annexation. That would be the boundaries, because we want to make sure that we're working with NV Energy. We want to make sure that this is solely on our boundaries and that they can come in easily and pick this up from us and continue on.
That's one of my concerns is
other development trying to want to annex in. Yeah. Thank you.
Commissioner Hendricks.
Now, it's my understanding you have all the experts that are gonna would help us set this up.
That's correct.
And we've done this before, and I do like the idea because this is the kind of development we want to see. And the availability of power has just been a huge problem, and so I'm happy to see a solution coming forward.
Yeah, it's no fault of any energy, right?
Right.
They've got
Yes.
overwhelmed, I mean, tripling the size of your grid in a matter of. Like a couple of years, and nobody saw that coming.
So, I'm gonna make a statement or two and then tell me if I'm wrong. So what I assume that's being said. Number one, I think I'm pretty familiar with Northern Nevada Industrial Center from the onset. But you guys are not a power company. You don't want to be a power company. You're doing this out of necessity.
That's
Right.
correct. We're industrial developers.
So
100%.
if the power company wanted this tomorrow, you would be happy to let them have it.
Of course.
Yep. One of the things that we have a problem with in Lyon County is getting things started, right? And that's what you're running up against. We need economic development bad. And we're not trying to kick one person to the side or anything else. Everybody works together. I see these kind of developments all over the nation right now. And we have to jump in now before they're built somewhere else. I know even in our own county, there's other places that are fighting for this opportunity. And we've got the land and everything out there in Silver Springs. That's what we agreed to have you build out there. So I think we should help you move forward. I did have a question on the 30%. You have solar fields on there. But how does that 30%? I understand what you're doing this for your project, but I look at it as a county. And if we're getting solar fields pushed on us in this county already, when we consider that as part of the 30% countywide, not just your project. In other words, why would you put solar fields in there if you could use that land for more development?
Exactly. So we don't want it. Like, it's the highest and best use is not a solar field. But the guys that are coming that we're talking about, these data centers, are very sensitive to making sure there's a mix that meets that. And so what I see happen is once this is interconnected and the useful life of that solar field runs out, that it will be raised and that there'll be industrial development on that land. And so the PPA has a useful life, let's say it's 20 years. And then so that will be the last phase of the industrial park.
Okay, well, I'm just saying,
But I agree,
if we're giving up land for solar fields anywhere in Lyon County, I think it should go to the offset of 30%.
if we could interconnect it into our site and then those electrons could be blended on our site. That's what we're looking for. We're looking to interconnect to the grid. So the sooner we can do that, if we interconnect at day one, then that, and we were able to provide them a storage option to where they could interconnect us, that relieves that we don't have to build that solar. So we're 100% on board with you. And so you being the GID, will keep you abreast of that situation ongoing, as I'm sure MD Energy will.
One thing that as far as GID, I don't want to be a GID forever. In other words, I don't want us to have one more GID. I want this to be more like the temporary GID here. We can get to the other part. For one thing, I don't want to have to read it on the agenda. So is there any more questions? Any questions? Let's go ahead and go to public comment, and then we might have more questions after that. Public comment?
Hello, commissioners, good to see all of you. My name is Chloe Chisholm with NV Energy. We're currently not in favor of the creation of a general improvement district in Lyon County to furnish light and power to the Northern Nevada Industrial Center. As Nevada's electric utility, we have long-term plans for future development in Lyon County to serve Lyon County and your residents. And this concept in particular just raises several concerns for us. And understanding that today's agenda item just opens up the conversation. We just did want to let the board know our position on this particular avenue, but we certainly look forward to continuing the discussion. And just to provide some additional context, there is a lot of speculation in this industry for projects, and when it comes to quoting out times, for instance, 2032, we have projects that come submit interest. A lineup in our queue for power on our transmission on our system, and they can stay there for certain periods of time. I don't know exactly how long it is, but I believe it's up to a few years, and we have to include that project and that interest in what we can serve when other projects come to NV Energy asking for transmission capacity. And as you even heard from the BLM, a lot of times applications are withdrawn. So that's where the speculation comes in, but we still have to include what's in our queue when we are quoting projects that come into our state. So we certainly look forward to all of those partnerships and are doing our very best, but just wanted to let you know our current position on the concept of GID in Lyon County. So I would sign in, but I don't see it. But thank you.
Thank you. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, online. Back to the board.
Chairman Carr, I appreciate your comments, Ms. Chisholm. Also very impressed with the presentation here today. I would highly recommend that we encourage a sit down with NV Energy and this project, NLIC, so that we get more for the next time we meet regarding this. Go from there. If it is truly out till 2032, we could be reaping some of the benefits much sooner than that. I think we just need to have our county manager and comptroller involved, so that we can get the best information for our pending decision coming up, I'm sure within the near future. That would be my recommendation.
Any other comments? I do want to point out that GOED, Governor's Office of Economic Development, sent over a letter of support signed by the Executive Director of GOED and also signed by Nevada Office of Energy and also NNDA, which is Northern Nevada Development Authority. And that's who we pay for that represents us for development. And they also sent over a letter of support. I look at this, and my way of thinking is, yeah, I understand that NV Energy, we want to work in good partnership with them. We don't want to do anything like that, but we have to look at Lyon County as a whole and not rely on another agency of how we progress and growth. We're not saying that one's better than the other, but I'm looking at what can come first because we need the money. I've gone through the tentative budget already this year, and we can't just wait around and sit on our hands. I think we have to be proactive a little bit. If it was up to me to make the motion right now, I would send it back to the county manager as far as direction is to work on a GID, working with see how if we can come up with a agreement with NV Energy to take over the project as we move forward, see if they want to come into a partnership with you or however you and NV Energy can work together, but we want to go forward, not say, well, just sit back in our hands and wait. We need to move forward. I think you've done your time. We've promoted your area to develop up there, and now I think it's up to us to kind of say move forward. Does anybody else have any comments?
Was that a motion?
Can you take that as a motion, or do I have to read it all? What kind of direction? Do you want me to take 5 minutes and you come back with what you think the motion is?
If you could clarify it just a little bit, maybe, and put it in a motion format, that would be.
I move.
Should we take 5?
Yeah, let me take 5 and
Write something up.
I'll come back with a motion. I'm not going anywhere. Hold on. come back, item 16A, we're still in discussion. I was working on the, motion, but I think the applicants wanted to add some more input, so I wanted to open it back up to them.
Good morning, Commissioners. Bob Sweeten for the record, counsel for NNIC. What we'd ask for in today's motion is a motion to approve direction to the county manager to work with NNIC to bring back a resolution and ordinance, draft resolution and ordinance to meet and confer with NV Energy, and to the extent possible, incorporate those partnership elements into that resolution and ordinance for the governing documents for the GID. And we would also ask that we put on the record that time is of the essence in this matter. The project has a critical partnership contract deadline in July. So we are looking to move forward quickly. I will say from NNIC's side, once this is approved today, we have the draft documents ready to go that we'll send over to county manager and start discussing that with county immediately. So we would ask for that and we'll submit. Thank you.
Is there any other comment from the board? Or public? Okay, I move to have the county manager work toward the creation of a general GID, including the draft ordinance and regulations, and meet with NV Energy and applicants to determine other opportunities or partnerships. And would like to see it back in a month before this board. You guys said 30 days or whatever our meeting is, so a month. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Keller, second by Commissioner Hendricks. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Get to work. Sixteen B for possible action, approve to cancel or reschedule the June 19, 2024 Board of County Commissioners meeting due to the Juneteenth holiday.
Andrew Haskell, Lyon County Manager. So the second meeting in June happens to fall on Juneteenth this year. And so I'd like permission to either cancel or move that meeting to a different date.
I'll just throw this out there that some staff may coincide Juneteenth with an extended Friday holiday. So if we do decide to meet, I think Wednesday would be better than Friday. But I am open to anything. I just wanted to throw that out there. I don't have anything going on. I'm boring, but I think for staff's sake that they may extend that. It's the week after high school graduation. Families may want to be out of town, may be visiting. So I just wanted to throw that out there on that Friday of being off limits.
Any other comment from the board? Everybody looking at their calendar?
18th is fine for me.
Either that or it's Wednesday or cancel. In my opinion.
Based on what we just decided, I think we need to have that meeting.
18th is fine.
I'm good on the 18th. Want to move it up a day?
Yeah, that works for me. We need a motion.
You know, a motion, but you don't have to set it firm to work toward the 18th, I guess. In case there's a problem.
Move to reschedule the June 19th, 2025 Board of County Commissioners meeting due to the Juneteenth holiday. Possibly the 18th, but leave it to staff for a final decision.
Second. A motion by Commissioner Hendricks, second by Commissioner Casanelli. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 16C for possible action, approve an interlocal agreement between Lyon County, Carson area Metro Campo for surface transportation block grant program plans and amount not to exceed $1,254,000 to complete a feasibility study for the Dayton Valley Chavez Road Bridge project with a county match of $66,000. The match is proposed to be funded from Regional Transportation Commission, or TC, funds if approved at the next meeting or through a budget transfer from the general fund contingency.
Andrew Haskin, Lyon County Manager. So this is something that I've been working on for a while with Campo. And excited to bring it forward. It is the next step in working towards getting a second bridge in Dayton built. Originally, when we had talked to Campo, we had talked about actually doing the design for the second bridge, but there's a number of other steps that have to happen prior to that. And so the scope of work for this essentially would knock out most of, if not all of the kind of pre-requirements for federal funding for a design and construction project for that second bridge. So pretty excited about this. Does come with the county match of $66,000. Wasn't able to get it on the RTC agenda for our last meeting, and so hoping to get it on the next one and get it approved. But I think it's a worthwhile project to move forward. If it's not approved at that agenda, to take it out of contingency as well. Happy to answer any questions that the board has on this, but very excited about this. It shows that we're taking steps forward to get this completed.
Any questions? Commissioner Hendricks.
Just a comment. I want to thank you for continually working towards this end, instead of just adopting the idea that, oh, we'll never have the money for that. So I'm happy to see this moving forward. It becomes more critical all the time.
Commissioner Castanari, and then I'll go to Commissioner Jacobson.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I just, as a 25+ year resident of the Dayton Ranches, this project was, I've been waiting forever. So just super excited to see that this is going to be moving forward. So thank you.
Commissioner Jacobson.
There's very few projects that come across that like we even need to vote on this. So thank you. This is a keeper.
Any other comment? I do want to say this is one of the stumbling blocks that you end up with going for grants, that you have to get the engineering done. And so we can never get anything up and running because we can never get past the engineering in the first place. So I'll entertain them. Oh, public comment. Nobody online. Yeah, entertain a motion.
I move to approve an interlocal agreement between Lyon County and Carson Area Metropolitan Planning Organization for surface transportation block grant programs funds in the amount not to exceed $1,254,000 to complete a feasibility study for the Dayton Valley Chavez Road Bridge project with a county match of $66,000. The match is proposed to be funded from Regional Transportation Commission funds if approved at their next meeting or through a budget transfer from the general fund contingency.
I'll second.
Been motion by Commissioner Hendricks, second by Commissioner Castanari. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. 16D for possible action, approve letters of support on behalf of the Board of Commissioners for community project funding requests.
Andrew Haskin, Lyon County Manager. So we are, so just to kind of give the board an update on where we're at with community project funding requests. Last year's funding request did not get approved because the federal government is working off of a continuing resolution through the end of this fiscal year. We did have several requests that did make it into the bill drafts. However, those bills are not moving forward. So what we're doing is we're requesting that last year's requests be recent. We are resubmitting last year's requests and requesting them again. But there was 3 other projects that came up that were worthwhile that we also wanted to include with this year's requests. And so that's what these letters of support are for.
Any questions? Any public comment? Yeah, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve the letters of support on behalf of the Board of Commissioners for community project funding requests.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hockaday, second by Commissioner Hendricks. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Says to reconvene as the Silver Springs General Improvement District Board. Public participation, no action will be taken on any item until it is properly agendized. It is anticipated that public participation be held at this time, though it may be returned to at any time during the agenda. Citizens wishing to speak during public participation are asked to state their name for the record and will be limited to 3 minutes. The board will conduct public comment after discussion on each agenda item, but before the board takes any action. 18A for possible action, authorize the board chair to sign a letter of support to the Utilities Department to submit a grant application to the Office of Financial Assistance at the Nevada Division of Environmental Protection for the Silver Springs General Improvement District wastewater plant recycled water filter rehabilitation project.
Chairman Keller, Commissioners, David Burketta for the record. That was a mouthful, I know. So the governor's proposed budget has some grant money put into it. So if that is approved with this amount of grant money, NDEP is right now accepting applications, or the applications were due last week. I did submit an application on behalf of Silver Springs, but if it does get approved, then it's very specific. I think there's about $33 million in the grant funding. It is for specific types of water projects that are already, so you can spend the money. We have the Silver Springs wastewater recycled project that we're working on. It's just our $1 million. And we have budget money for it. We've got it approved as part of our CIP to begin next year. We believe that it will qualify for the conditions of this grant, so we want to submit this application. So we're asking for a 80% reimbursement request through this. So it's just a little under $800,000. We'd like to apply for this grant. So I want to give credit to Kishore Panda. He, our utility engineer, grant applications are pretty onerous. And he spent quite a few nights working on this to get this in, because it was a very, very narrow, short window to get it in. But he was able to complete that. So I want to give him credit for doing this. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
We have any questions? Any questions from the public? Anyone? I'll entertain a motion.
Chair Keller, I'll make a motion to authorize the board chair to sign a letter of support for the Utilities Department to submit a grant application to the Office of Financial Assistance at the Nevada Division of Environmental Protection for the Silver Springs General Improvement District wastewater plant recycled water filtration rehabilitation project.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Jacobson, second by Commissioner Hockaday. Those in favor say aye. Aye. This brings us to item motion 5-0. Brings us to 18. And I'm going to have to declare that I am a member of this board, and I'm also a member of the Silver Springs Mutual Water Company board. So I'll abstain from this vote, and I will remove myself from board.
Commissioner Keller was stepping out at 11:33. Item 18B for possible action, discussion and possible action to direct staff to negotiate a contract with the Silver Springs Municipal Water Company to continue to provide billing and related services for the Silver Springs General Improvement District, or to pursue and finalize another alternative for the Silver Springs General Improvement District.
Thank you, Commissioners. For the record, David Burketta. So we've been working with the Silver Springs Municipal Water Company. The Silver Springs GID is obviously the sewer side, they're the water side. So the county took over operations of that in 2007.
So in 2007, the county, the Silver Springs GID signed an agreement with the Silver Springs Municipal Water to provide a handful of tasks. And the tasks mainly are in two areas, which is the billing and customer service area, and in the USA locates, which is where you go out and mark the water and sewer lines. They've been providing that service since 2007 under this agreement. And this year in February, received a letter from the board president, and they requested a doubling of the amount because there's been no rate increases over the past 17 years. So they requested that it goes from the payment goes from $3,000 a month to $6,000 a month. You know, their justification was that, you know, based on an average of about 3% CPI a year, that would equate to about $6,000. So Josh pulled out his tables and took a look at that and said he actually went to what the CPI was, and he came up with a number of about $4,500 a month. And then it's in your packet, but what I did is I did some calculations. Their general manager put together just estimate of how much time they're spending both on the billing operations and the USA locate side of things. And so I did some calculations based on the amount of time, and that's what you have on your screen right there. That was the general manager, Mr. Martinson. That was his calculation showing about how much time they're spending on a monthly basis, calculated over a period of a year for both the USA locates and then the billing component of it. And so if you scroll down one more, he come up with just under $6,000 a month. I took a look at it based on his estimated hours, and I did the calculations of what it would cost us, the Silver Springs GID or Lyon County Utilities, to perform those services. And the biggest difference that we have has to do with our hourly rates. So when we calculate hourly rates, like when we do FEMA reimbursements and stuff, we simply use what it costs us. It is our personnel time plus the benefits that sit on top of that, and then any specific equipment that we use. You know, in our rate schedule, we adopt FEMA reimbursable rates, which there's no doubt, I think that they are low, but that's because we typically work with that. So our rates for billing would be a much lower hourly rate than what their rate is. And then the rates for the locates, our rates would be significantly lower. So in a nutshell, we could provide the same services for less than $4,500 a month. So we met with the board president a couple of times, and the general manager had discussions about it. I did a presentation with this information to the Silver Springs Municipal Water Board, and then they came back with an alternative option, which if you scroll down one more, it's kind of small there, but you can see year one, they were proposing 5,000, year two, 5,500, year three, 6,000, and so on. And, you know, the bottom line is I think we're at a difference. We have a different rate structure than they have. So, you know, if we cancel the contract, I believe that we can take over those services, you know, at a lower rate to help keep rates down to the customers out there in Silver Springs. So I really bring this to you as what direction you would like to take this. I think we're at an impasse as far as, you know, trying to get to the same amount. What we consider our final and best offer is $4,500 a month. And, you know, they proposed the 5,000 a month, but then it would go up 500 or a proportionate share every year. And I still think that, you know, we can provide that service at a lower cost to the ratepayers. So with that, I believe the board president, they're online. The general manager is online also. The board president, Mr. Peak, said that he had a meeting at 11:15, so I'm not sure he can attend this. I don't know if they have any comments or concerns, but if they're online, see if they have any questions.
Do you see him on there?
I don't see Mr. Peak on there unless he happens to be one of the phone numbers. If Mr. Peak, if you're on there, please raise your hand.
Well, Chair Hendricks, I went through this. Seemed like quite a raise. Anytime someone's shooting for 100%. Increase, I should say, not a raise, but, and then I just have some questions. Approximate time, bank deposits, 12 hours. I would deposit money once a week. I don't know why we would be spending 12 hours is that a week, a month?
Yeah.
Oh, a month. Okay, but still, I mean, some of these, that seems like, I don't know where they bank, but I would think 4 hours a month would be plenty on that. But I do think they could cut back on some of the time they spend on this just by looking at how they're spending their time, but the dailies, I would like to see how. I don't, what did they include in dailies on the 20 hours?
I mean, and they would have to answer the details.
Right.
It had to do with the reconciliation of the payments. And that was an average over a period of a month. So, when I talked to Mr. Martinson about this, I did have some questions with, some of the accounting we discussed in general, but I was really mainly focused because the biggest cost savings or the biggest difference between us and them had to do with the hourly rate. So, they have their rate schedule approved. We have our rate schedule approved. And, one of the largest components of this has to do with the USA locates. And, honestly, it doesn't make sense to have two companies go out in the same area and do the locates. But with their rate is 130 an hour, and we can provide the same service for, depending on who's going out, but, less than $90 an hour. So that is the biggest difference in that.
So just to help me, I'm not sure how negotiated agreements run and whatnot, but do we have someone out in that area that's available so that they could, I brought up negotiated agreements. I don't know if there's maybe for $3,000 we provide a stipend, and whoever's in charge of the bank deposits does that on the way home, and some things like that we could create some efficiencies and take that over. I mean, I struggle with adding an automatic 500 a month. That doesn't sound like a lot, but or a year, I mean, 500 a year, that's a decent sized percentage of the overall cost of that. So we're adding a decent sized percentage every single year to this. I would love to entertain if we can do this in-house. And then I guess my other question would be, as far as their staff, are they going to be overstaffed then? I don't know.
Let me answer the first part of your question, and that is, right now we manage the GID out there, so we send out our staff on a regular basis. We'll have to move some things around. We consider, adding this would take about a half an FTE. We're not going to hire a half FTE, so we'll do it with our existing services, but we can provide that. I've already looked at the billing operation. It's an operation that we can incorporate into our system. There would be some impacts to the ratepayers as far as, we'll have to set a drop box up there. We'll have to do things different. They, instead of going to the municipal water company, they're going to have to come in all the way to Dayton if they choose to pay. But we have additional payment options. We have more options in how to pay a bill than what they have. I think in general, we can provide the same service at a lower rate to the ratepayer. So that's really what it comes down to for me. We just were not able to reconcile our differences on what it would come out, the total cost to do these services. So Lyon County Utilities can take over those operations. The second part, which is their impact to their operations, I have not had that discussion to them, but what it would be currently is, we pay them $3,000 a month, so it'd be a loss of revenue of $36,000 a year. They were requesting double that, so, but that would have involved additional rates on our end.
I have a question. Would this eliminate some jobs in Silver Springs?
How they're gonna handle this, I don't have that answer.
There's already like 12 jobs in Silver Springs, already, but I really hate to see somebody lose jobs over this, but at the same time, we can't really afford to throw away money.
I had that similar concern, but at the same time, with the budget the way.
Same time with the budget the way it is and where we're heading now. If your crew is able to handle this, I say we move it, but.
Commissioner Casanel?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Burketta, for, actually, Commissioner Jacobson hit it right on the head with what my question was. I had outlined that as a business owner myself, I'm looking at 3 hours a month in billing and 7 hours a month in payment collection, but 12 hours a month in making the bank deposit. I don't know if that has to be a typo in there. I mean, this makes absolutely no sense to me.
I did talk to the general manager about it, but again, that's their operation. We have the ability to do electronic deposits.
Right.
We currently already have. We have a service come pick up our money so that we don't end up having to go to the bank. And so those are things that we can integrate seamlessly into our operations.
Yeah, I mean, it's completely inefficient in my mind, and the increase, it's substantial increase. My feeling is if we can't come to the agreement at the $4,500 a month, then we look at taking it over.
Ready for
Okay.
yeah, ready. Anytime you're ready for a motion, we can.
One comment before you make a motion. One thing in the contract agreement, it does say is that we give a 90-day period to terminate the contract. So, just my request is if we gave a 90-day notice today, that would put us into July 17th. The contract is renewed on a 6-month, 1-year basis, which would begin July 1. So if the Silver Springs Municipal Water would be amiable to it, that we would just terminate the contract effective June 30th of this year. I did notify them of that and said that would be part of what I'm discussing here.
Chair, I will just one more quick comment or question. Do you know how many repairs or how many services this is?
It's just under 1,000.
Just under 1,000. Thank you.
Okay, is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll take a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to direct staff to negotiate a contract with Silver Springs Municipal Water Company to continue to provide billing and related services for the Silver Springs General Improvement District, or to pursue the alternative and finalize another alternative contract with us for Silver Springs General Improvement District.
Chairman Hockaday, if I just add clarifying, or I just have a question on that. Because we've had multiple negotiations with them, we believe that our best and final offer would be $4,500 a month. If we couldn't come to that we would terminate the agreement.
That's basically, you're negotiating, and at that point, we're kind of giving you the authority to do the best possible deal for the county.
Okay.
So the contract just is $4,500 a month. So how much would we say, where are we saving this money from? And where would that savings then be going to?
So what would happen in lieu of paying the $36,000 a year to them? We would take that existing resource and with our existing resources, use that. And then possibly someday in the future, we would be looking at, we are looking at other options to be able to maximize the use of another FTE at another GID.
Well, but it isn't 36,000. It's 12 times 4,500.
For if the additional amount would come in.
If we ended up going to $4,500 a month, yeah.
So it seems like we could include an entry level person for pretty close to that hourly that does a lot of these tasks and take on other, I don't want to say menial, but other lower tasks or redirect that money elsewhere, or it seemed like we would have a lot more flexibility. Cause that's what, 48, 40, I mean, that's over $50,000.
With the added, and I've had general conversations with Josh about this, but with the added benefits and everything, I still think it would be higher. So the initial discussion would be, doing it with our existing resources. But I would like to continue to have that conversation for like the next budget cycle with Josh and how we provide those services.
Well, I would be more inclined to do a motion that we just take it over. And July 1st, you said, or June 1st?
And termination ending June 30th, yeah, so July 1.
That seemed like the direction I'm thinking, but because it isn't $36,000 a year, it's 4,500 plus 500 a year plus CPI.
Well, so our position is that it would be a flat rate of $4,500 without that, increase every year. Maybe it'd be a 3-year contract or a 5-year contract, but that would be our proposal, a flat rate of $4,500. That way we could budget for it appropriately, in the next upcoming years. But from the Silver Springs GID standpoint, they have just said that their fee schedule cannot support that.
Commissioner Huckabee, would you kind of like to clarify your motion?
Well, based on what we have here for 18B, we're basically saying you've negotiated, you've come to $4,500. That's the negotiation. They're not willing to accept it. We go to finalize another alternative, which is we take it over.
Correct.
That's the motion.
Yes.
Based on the possible action of item 18A or 18B. That's kind of throwing it back in your court, saying you've done everything you can, you've talked it over, you've done the paperwork, you've done the comparisons. We've got the figures in front of us. We agree with your conclusion that if we can't get it for $4,500 a month, we terminate and move on with our doing it ourselves.
One more. Chair Hendricks, so
Yeah.
So I guess one last question, Mr. Burkett, I appreciate the work you put into this. So if we take it over, there won't be a rate. If what I heard was correct, there will not be a rate increase for the folks. If we go with this 4,500 to 5,000, there will be a rate increase.
And so what I'm saying is we would have to look at that, what that impact would be if we went with the higher amount. We've not done that analysis yet. But we're saying that based on our calculations, based on their numbers, that would be as high as we would be willing to go. So I think just to clarify today is, we can't come to an agreement on the 4,500. So the recommendation I'm suggesting is that to make it very simple, that we terminate the agreement effective June 30th. And then that's the motion. And then simply we would take over those operations.
Right.
That's not the motion that we have presented at the time. You said they don't agree to the 4,500 or are you?
Basically, the negotiation was we're negotiated 4,500. They're not willing to take it. So we go to another alternative, which is we take it. That's kind of what that says there on the.
Okay,
and pursue and finalize another alternative. They won't take 45. We finalize the alternative, which is we take it.
Right. And I'm sorry, I wrote it very, very general in case, there was other direction that you wanted to provide, but to clarify, to make it very simple, yes, we terminate the agreement.
Okay, we have a motion. We've already had public comment. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion by Dave Hockaday, second by Commissioner Jacobson. Passes 4-0.
Thank you.
This brings us to public participation. No action taken on any item until it's properly agendized. Do we have any public participation? Seeing none. Adjourn to the reconvene of Lyon County Board of Commissioners. Other agenda requests.
Um,
Do you have any agenda requests?
I would actually like to have this board review the idea of maybe um requiring sloped roofs on apartment buildings and not have flat roofed apartment complexes in our county. I don't think they age well and they don't look great.
Any other agenda requests? Commissioner Robson?
I appreciated MD Energy's comments today. I was really impressed with the presentation today by NNIC. I would like, while I know it's a month away from the actual presentation, I think if county manager Haskins has a meeting this week between MD Energy and NNIC, I would like just an update on how that meeting went. And just a quick overall, so that in 2 weeks when that come, or 2 meetings when that comes back, we have just a little bit more information on how the talks went. Because I see the county manager probably being more of a moderator, if you will, or kind of a middleman. So I'd like to hear his take on how that went, maybe in 2 weeks if they've met. Because that is a big project for Lyon County. And I don't know, I just think it's important that we move on it.
Any other agenda requests? Commissioner comments?
We'll say happy Easter.
Yep.
Oh.
Okay, public participation. Any other public participation? Any online? Are we gonna have a closed session?
No closed session today.
Okay. 11:57, we're adjourned.